U.S. military builds major presence in the Caribbean Sea. Here's what's there and why it matters. In recent months, the U.S. military has quietly expanded its operational presence across the Caribbean Sea, creating a level of activity that many observers say is unusually intense for the region. While official statements describe the buildup as routine security operations, maritime patrols, and anti-trafficking missions, the scale of deployments suggests something bigger, a strategic effort to tighten control over one of the world's most important sea corridors. The Caribbean is not just a tourist paradise. It is a key gateway between North and South America, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Atlantic Ocean. Any nation that controls this space controls major trade routes, migration flows, and regional security. With growing global tensions, rising drug trafficking routes, and concerns over foreign influence near U.S. waters, the Caribbean has become a frontline zone for military readiness. What forces are currently in the Caribbean? U.S. Navy warships and patrol vessels. The most visible part of the buildup is the presence of U.S. Navy vessels operating in and around Caribbean waters. These include destroyers, littoral combat ships, and support vessels capable of tracking submarines, launching missiles, and intercepting fast-moving targets. These warships often operate under the U.S. Southern Command, SOUTHCOM, which oversees military operations throughout Latin America and the Caribbean. While some deployments are short-term, others involve rotating task forces that keep the region under constant surveillance. Coast Guard interdiction units. Alongside Navy deployments, the U.S. Coast Guard has increased patrol operations. Coast Guard cutters are heavily involved in stopping illegal drug shipments, intercepting human trafficking routes, and monitoring suspicious vessels moving between island chains. These ships may not look like war machines, but they are equipped with advanced radar systems, armed boarding teams, and aircraft support. They are often the first responders when illegal trafficking is detected in Caribbean waters. Surveillance aircraft and reconnaissance missions. One of the most significant assets in the region isn't a ship. It's the air presence. The U.S. frequently operates surveillance aircraft such as P-8, Poseidon Maritime Patrol Aircraft, RC-135, reconnaissance aircraft, AWACS early warning planes, MQ-9 Reaper drones in some operations. These aircraft track vessel movement, scan shipping lanes, and monitor potential threats. Their role is intelligence dominance, knowing what is happening across thousands of miles of ocean in real time. U.S. military bases and forward operating locations. The U.S. also relies heavily on a network of bases and strategic staging points near the Caribbean. While the U.S. does not always publicly detail troop numbers, several key locations serve as hubs for rapid deployment. Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, long-standing U.S. facility. Puerto Rico, major U.S. military infrastructure. U.S. Virgin Islands, strategic maritime position. Forward operating bases in Central America that support Caribbean missions. These locations allow aircraft, ships, and personnel to be moved quickly throughout the region without requiring long-distance travel from mainland U.S. bases. Why is the U.S. expanding its presence now? Drug trafficking and organized crime. The Caribbean remains one of the most active drug transit in the world. Cocaine shipments frequently move through island chains before reaching the U.S. mainland. U.S. officials argue that increased naval patrols to stop traffickers who now use faster boats, semi-submersibles, and encrypted communications. This is one of the official explanations most often given, but many analysts believe it is only part of the story. Rising global tensions and strategic competition. Another major factor is global power competition. The Caribbean sits close to U.S. territory, and Washington has grown increasingly cautious about foreign military or economic influence in the region. In recent years, China and Russia have increased diplomatic activity and investment interest across Latin America and parts of the Caribbean. While much of this is economic, U.S. strategists worry that infrastructure investments, ports, telecom networks, and energy facilities could eventually serve military purposes. From a Pentagon perspective, preventing rivals from gaining a foothold near U.S. waters is a long-term priority. Protection of shipping lanes and energy routes. The Caribbean is a major passageway for global shipping traffic, oil and gas transport, U.S. imports and export supply chains between the Americas. A destabilized Caribbean would impact global trade. Increased military presence ensures the U.S. can respond rapidly to any disruption, whether caused by conflict, piracy, sabotage, or geopolitical crises. Migration and regional instability. Political instability in parts of the region has contributed to migration surges. The U.S. has used military logistics and maritime surveillance to monitor migration routes, assist in disaster response, and support partner governments. This is especially relevant during hurricane season, when U.S. forces often serve as emergency responders capable of delivering aid, evacuating civilians, and restoring infrastructure. What this means for Caribbean nations. For Caribbean countries, the buildup is a mixed reality. On one side, increased U.S. presence can provide protection against trafficking networks and improve disaster response readiness. It can also mean more security partnerships, training programs, and funding for local defense forces. On the other side, it raises concerns about sovereignty, surveillance, and becoming caught in the middle of global military competition. Some leaders worry that rising U.S. military activity could make the Caribbean a geopolitical chessboard, where small island nations become strategic pieces rather than independent voices. A region becoming more militarized. While the Caribbean is still largely peaceful compared to other regions, the growing presence of naval fleets, reconnaissance aircraft, and rapid response military infrastructure suggests a clear message. The U.S. is not taking chances in its near neighborhood. Whether the mission is anti-drug operations, deterrence against rivals, or preparing for potential regional crises, one fact is clear. Washington sees the Caribbean as strategically vital, and it is acting accordingly. The Caribbean may look calm on the surface, but underneath, it is becoming one of the most closely watched waterways on Earth.